Have you ever cooked up the perfect, unbeatable strategy for something, only to watch it completely fall apart when real people get involved? Well, today, we're going to get into that fascinating gap between the cold, hard logic of game theory and the beautifully messy, kind of irrational way we humans actually make decisions. This is going to be fun.
So to get us started, we're going to play a little game. It's a really simple thought experiment, but trust me, the results tell us something huge about who we are.
Okay, picture this. I just handed you a crisp $100 bill. All you have to do is split it with a complete stranger. Sounds easy, right? But there are a couple of interesting rules. Rule number 1. You're the boss. You get to decide how the money is split, and you make just one single take-it-or-leave-it offer. There's no haggling, no back and forth. It's a one-and-done deal. And here's the real kicker. If that stranger accepts your offer, great, you both walk away with your share of the cash. But if they reject it, for any reason at all, that $100 just vanishes. Poof, you both get nothing. So you've got the power to make the offer, but they have the ultimate power to burn the whole thing down.
So go ahead, take a second. What's your gut telling you? How much of that $100 are you offering the stranger? Seriously, pick a number and lock it in your head. We're going to come back to it.
All right, now let's put on our Spock ears and analyze this thing. It's actually called the Ultimatum game, with pure, cold, dispassionate logic. How would a perfectly rational, profit-hungry player handle this? To figure out the perfect move, game theorists use this really cool tool called backward induction. It sounds super technical, but it's not. All it means is you start by figuring out what the last person is going to do, and then you work your way backward from there to find your best first move. So let's try it. Step 1, think about the stranger. Player 2, what's their final choice? Well, they can either accept your offer and get some money, or they can reject it and get zero. A purely logical person always chooses something over nothing, right? So they should accept any offer as long as it's more than zero. So knowing that, as player 1, you realize you only have to offer the absolute rock-bottom minimum to get them to say yes. Okay. So, if your only goal is to walk away with the most cash possible, and you assume the other person is a logic machine just like you, what's the tiniest amount you can possibly offer?
1 cent. Yep, according to pure game theory, the winning move is to offer a single penny and keep $99.99 for yourself. Why? Because the other person faces a choice between 1 cent and 0 cents, and logically, 1 is better than 0. It's a brutal strategy, but on paper, it's flawless.
But this is where it all gets so interesting. Because when economists actually got real people with real money to play this game, that perfect, logical, 1 cent strategy, it didn't just fail. It went down in flames.
I love this quote from the game theorist Martin J. Osborne because he puts it so mildly. The results do not accord well with the predictions. That's a very polite way of saying the theory was just plain wrong. People, it turns out, are not robots.
And just look at this chart. It tells the whole story. The theory says the proposer, that's you, should take basically 100% of the money. But in reality, proposers on average only keep about 60%. That means they're offering the other person 40% of the total. We're talking $40, not 1 cent. That is a massive difference. Get this, the very first tests were on economics students. You know, the people you'd think would play the most logically. But even they offered around a third of the money. And here's the wild part. Nearly 1 out of every 5 offers was rejected. People were literally choosing to get $0 just to punish the other person for making a lowball offer. It was pure spite.
This shows you just how important that power of rejection is. They ran a different version of the game, called the dictator game, where player 2 has no power. They have to accept whatever's offered. And guess what happened? The minute you take away the fear of rejection, the offers plummet. It's that threat of punishment that keeps people, well, fair.
So what's the point of all this? Well, this isn't just some weird little party game. This I think, you think sequential logic is everywhere. It's in boardrooms, it's in contract negotiations, it's in major business decisions.
You see it in something called the Holdup game. Imagine one company has to invest millions to build a specialized factory part for another company. They might hesitate, not because the deal isn't good, but because they're afraid that once they've spent all that money, they'll be stuck. The other company could come back and say, yeah, we're changing the terms, take it or leave it, hitting them with a brutal ultimatum. That fear can kill a great deal before it even starts.
And this whole idea of who moves when is absolutely critical in competitive markets. There's a model for this called a Stackelberg duopoly, which basically looks at what happens when two firms are competing, but one of them gets to make its move first. As we're starting to see, getting to go first can be a game-changing advantage.
Just look at this table. It's super clear. If both firms decide on their strategy at the same time, they end up with a certain amount of profit. But if firm 1 gets to commit to its strategy first, it can make a bold move, like producing a lot more product. That forces firm 2 to react and take a smaller piece of the pie. The result? The first mover gets a bigger market share and way higher profits.
So all of this brings us back to that big central question. If we aren't acting like these perfect, rational, profit-maximizing machines, what exactly are we doing? Are we just bad at logic, or is there something deeper going on?
Well, it turns out our irrationality is actually pretty smart. First off, we seem to be wired with a deep sense of fairness. We just don't like seeing wildly one-sided deals. Second, proposers aren't stupid. They make fair offers because they have a very rational fear of getting rejected and walking away with nothing. And finally, we're creatures of habit. In our everyday lives, it pays to have a reputation for being fair, and we bring that social rule of thumb with us, even into weird one-off experiments.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Game theory is an amazing, powerful tool for understanding strategy, but its predictions are only ever as good as its assumptions. And when you're dealing with humans, you have to remember that our motivations are so much more complex than just grabbing the most money for ourselves. Things like fairness, reputation, and just plain emotion, they're all part of the game. Which leaves us with one last question for you to think about. The next time you're in any kind of negotiation, for a job, a car, even just trying to decide where to eat with friends, ask yourself this. Are you just playing the logical game? Or are you playing the person sitting across from you, with all of their complex, human, and wonderfully predictable irrationality?